Good evening. Welcome to this meeting of the Cabinet. I make it 7 o'clock, so we'll make a start. My name is Councillor Shantanu Rajawat. I'm the leader of the council and chair of this meeting. Can I welcome those in the audience and those watching at home as well? We've got quite a packed agenda, quite a bit to get through. Around me on the table are my cabinet colleagues who will introduce themselves as they speak, and we're also supported by officers of the council who are here, if requested, to offer any technical guidance that may be required during the course of the discussion. They don't take part in the decision making, only cabinet vote. Can I also welcome Councillor Peter Thompson as leader of the opposition, who gets a standing invite. And we will move straight. Before we move to the first item of the agenda, can I take this opportunity to welcome our new Executive Director for Finance and Resources, Jake Backers. Welcome to Hounslow. Hopefully you enjoy it. You've come at just the right time as the budget's being set. Perfect timing, almost deliberate. So you're very, very warm welcome. I know you're getting yourself acquainted with the organisation. We look forward to working with you. But I'm sure you'll join me as well in thanking Rupa Ragwani and Andrew Cox, who have been stepping in since Clive Palfreyman's departure. They've done an excellent job of keeping me on the ground, certainly. But thank you to you. You'll be pleased to know they're staying in the organisation. They're not going anywhere. They're just going back to their substantive roles. But they've done an excellent job stepping up over the last few months as well. So thank you to the both of you as well for all your work. So we will move on to the first item of the agenda, which is apologies for absence. Now, I've had apologies from Councillor Ajmal Garawal and Councillor C.R. Raza, who's chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, again, not part of the decision-making process, but does get an open invite. So are there any other apologies for absence? I can't see anyone else. Good. Any declarations of interest from members on any of the reports before us this evening? No, I can't see anyone indicating. Any communications from members? Can I declare that I've had communication on item 4 on the budget? Any others? No. Okay, can I just, go on.
Yeah, I have communication on the Sill S106, but I'll explain that when it gets to it.
Fine, thank you. Councillor Bath?
I think I have had communication on the budget. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Councillor Bath. Good. Can I just ask members to note the monitoring officer's note on interest, which is contained within the agenda pack as well? Noted, thank you. Right, we then move to the minutes of the meeting held on 16th of January. I'll take them page by page. For accuracy and matters arising, please do shout if I can find them. Right, sorry, they start on page 7. So page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, and finally page 12. Can I agree those minutes? Agreed. Thank you very much. Right, we then move on to our substantive items on the agenda. The first one is from me. I'm afraid it is a bit me heavy to start with, and then it tails off, you'll be pleased to know. So the first item is the delivery plan monitoring for 23-24. That's quarter 3. This is a regular report that Cabinet will be used to seeing. It details the programs within each portfolio in the program. As you know, our delivery plan is the central document to our delivery of our ambitions for the next 4 years, and being able to monitor them in a transparent way is really, really important. This is a self-explanatory document. It goes into a great bit of detail in there. This has been before Overview and Scrutiny last week as well, and had an examination of Overview and Scrutiny. I think apart from a few tweaks in terms of additional information, there was nothing substantial presented there either. So I formally move the report. You have a second?
I second the report and reserve my right to speak.
Excellent. It's been moved and seconded. It's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody on this report? Can't see anyone indicating. It is fairly self-explanatory. In which case, I'll move straight to recommendations, which are to note on page 13, 1 to 4. Can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Thank you very much. We now move on to The next item, which again from me, that is budget 24-25. That's page 82 to 361. Quite a weighty document. I'm going to say a few words to introduce it before having it seconded. So in 2022, when we were elected on a very comprehensive manifesto, which then became our corporate plan. And this budget really signifies that we haven't dimmed in our ambition for the borough and that we are presenting what I believe to be a very responsible budget that continues to deliver on what matters to our residents. And that's around investing in the borough, improving services and opportunities for residents and our businesses located within Hounslow. And it also delivers on our commitment to build a thriving, safer, cleaner, greener and healthier borough for residents, businesses and communities. However, in saying all of that, the backdrop of years of austerity, increasing demand, high inflation, the broken adult social care system and not enough funding is fundamentally hurting us and councils up and down the country. We do need to make tough decisions to produce a budget that continues to provide vital services and the ambitious vision for the borough. And this does result, as you'll see in the papers, in us potentially increasing council tax by a maximum of 4.99%. That is a recommendation that is within the report that will go on, subject to your agreement, colleagues, to Borough Council for endorsement. And that is a very difficult decision, but it is important to say that whilst that is important income coming in, that doesn't fill or bridge the gap in its entirety. I know, and we know, and I know a number of discussions that we've had over the last couple of weeks and months, that an increase in taxation will be frustrating and challenging for our residents. But the context is important here. The government really doesn't leave us much choice in this matter. And the funding model as it stands is based on us increasing council tax to the maximum. The silver lining there, I suppose, for us as an administration and as successive Labour administrations is that years of sound financial management means we don't need to make cuts to frontline services. And that's something that we can be really proud of at a time when residents are absolutely dependent on the services we provide. And our approach is absolutely, as you'll see in the report, and it alludes to it, and if you read it in context of the corporate plan and the delivery plan, to transform services, to prevent people entering into crisis that will be costly for them and for us as an authority as well. My call, I suppose, if I'm asked to make a call to government in a year when there is an election, is to stop the short-termism to funding and policy making, and the government has the courage to address systematic issues in social care and housings. Otherwise, councils like ours will continue to face tough decisions directly impacting on our residents. So with that introduction, I do formally move the budget report. Subject to your agreement, it will go on to Borough Council for endorsement. Are you happy to second?
Yes, I'm happy to second the report. Would you like me to say a few words now?
Up to you.
If
Yeah,
you're
go
happy
on.
with
Go
that,
on.
I will do.
Don't
Yes.
forget to introduce yourself.
I'm Councillor Catherine Dunn. I'm the Deputy Leader of the Council and Cabinet Member for Climate, Environment and Transport. So thank you for this report, Leader. I'm very happy to second this report and put my name to it. It's been an incredibly difficult year, and I say this every year, every year since I've been a councillor. Because, of course, I became a councillor once austerity had already started. And it's only got harder and harder each year to balance our budgets. And this has been for a number of factors, because of that ongoing austerity, because of the financial climate that we find ourselves in, interest rates, inflation, and everything. The increasing costs that we've had to deal with at a time of much increased need amongst our residents for our services. So congratulations. I know you thanked Rupa and Andrew earlier, but I'd like to also extend my thanks to them for helping us to get here. And I'm sure we're going to see some excellent work from Jake in the future. So I just want to talk about an area because although it's been difficult, we're not lacking in ambition. And I want to talk about an area where we have a lot of ambition. And of course, that is in meeting our climate commitments that we set out when we declared a climate emergency, and our target that we set ourselves to reach net zero by 2030 and to get halfway there. 50% reduction in our carbon emissions by 2026. Now, those are incredibly tough targets to meet. It's not that we don't know what to do. We know what to do and how to do it. That the struggle, the barrier is funding and some of those other challenges around, not knowing what funding we will have because of short-term settlements and things, having to bid constantly for funding against other councils that need that funding just as much as we do, which is a constant frustration, a big bugbear of mine that I've spoken about on previous occasions. But it hasn't dimmed our ambition. And you will notice for the first time that we have included a carbon budget in Appendix J, this time with our budget papers. This is our first attempt at this, and I think we will continue to refine that as time goes on. But what this is acknowledging is it's not just those areas that fall within my portfolio, where we are, where the decisions that we take around spending and how we spend have an effect, but actually across the whole of the council. And so what this climate budget does is pick out all those decisions, all those investments that we're making that will have an effect on reducing our carbon footprint. And it tries to quantify those and set them out. As I said, it is our first attempt, and I think we will improve this as time goes on so that we can get a much better and much more nuanced picture in future of how we're doing in terms of reducing that carbon output, and how that matches to what we're spending as well. So I'm really pleased that we've introduced that for the first time, and look forward to future versions in budgets to come.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn. Absolutely right. Real good innovation there. So looking forward to seeing that evolving. Right, it's been moved and seconded, so it's now open for debate. I saw Councillor Shaheen indicate first.
Hi, Councillor Salman Shaheen, Cabinet Member for Recreation, Public Spaces and Parking. Leader, I want to thank you for bringing forward this tough but necessary budget in what I'm going to say is unprecedented times. But I think we sit here every year and talk about unprecedented times. And, we are still facing deep inflationary pressures. We've had rampant inflation over the last few years off the back of austerity, off the back of a government that has inflicted quite deliberately misery and hardship on the poorest and most vulnerable people across this country, leading to destitution all over the country. Now, what we are doing in the face of that is protecting frontline public services, and that's absolutely vital. And not every council in this country can say the same. Councils across this country are facing deep hardships, and some are now going bust and making much tougher decisions than we have to today. As you said, it's not an easy decision to raise council tax. It's certainly not an easy decision to have to dip into our reserves to meet our spending commitments for this year. But it is vital that we are protecting public services, and I'm very proud that we're continuing to deliver on a very ambitious manifesto for Hounslow. In my portfolio alone, we can talk about the 20,000 trees that we are planting across this administration, are projects to build a borough that is 45% green, to plough 5 million into our parks and green spaces to ensure that we continue to have some of the very best parks in London, and to prioritise the health and well-being of our residents, because that is fundamental in times like these. So thank you very much for bringing forward this budget. I fully support it.
Thank you, Councillor Shaheen. Anyone else? Councillor Shivraj Garwal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much for presenting the budget. And what's that?
Who are you?
Sorry, I'm Councillor Shivraj Garewal, Cabinet Member for Communities and Equalities, and I also endorse what my colleague Councillor Salman Shaheen has mentioned. No doubt, the budget sounds financially very sound, and no doubt there are some increases being done, but we provide certain essential services which we will continue to provide. And as far as my portfolio is concerned, we are investing a lot of money into the communities, like community hubs, area farms, and even in the heritage of our borough. At the same time, I'm proud to say we are not in the red. So I absolutely support this budget, and congratulations to you as well as to the staff who supported it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gurwal. Right, I've got Councillor Lily Bath first, then Councillor Guy Lambert.
Thank you. I'm Councillor Lily Bath, the Cabinet Member for Children Education, Skills and Employment. Yes, I absolutely welcome the budget. And no, it isn't a good thing to have to increase council tax, but it kind of leaves us in a situation where we have very sort of few options. But I won't echo what everybody else has said and repeat that, but I did want to touch on some of the areas in this report which actually come under my portfolio. So if you do read the report, you'll see there's an awful lot of budget pressures in children's social care, because children and adults are the big spenders. But as we've quite rightly said today, we haven't actually made any cuts to frontline services, and that's really important, because in terms of, particularly in the times that we are experiencing at the moment with the cost of living crisis, you do see an increase in people contacting the council for services, and you'll see it in adult social care and you'll see it in children's social care. It's what happens naturally when people are really struggling. But so that's a difficult situation to deal with anyway, with a number of contacts that you have. But I think, difficult situation as it is, we have tried really hard, and you would have seen different reports that we've all brought to Cabinet in terms of trying to transform some of our services so that we can be more preventative and proactive, and maybe bring some savings with that in the long run as well. So although we're in a much better situation than lots and lots of other local authorities, absolutely agreed. But I think we should also be proud of the fact that we haven't cut frontline services, and we've also been innovative at the same time as well. And I just think sometimes it's difficult to do, but I do want to thank everybody who's been involved in that, because I know that it's hard work. I've been a councillor for a number of years, and it only gets difficult, and it sometimes can be difficult to be ambitious and be creative. But I've seen that everybody has really sort of has gone as far as they possibly can, and I think that that's really good. So in that sense, that I'm really proud of all the work that's been put in. So happy to endorse this.
Thank you, Councillor Bath. Councillor Lambert.
Thank you, Chair. My name's Guy Lambert. I'm the Cabinet Member for Recycling, Highways and Health Integration. A couple of things to say. First off, I agree with Councillor Bath's comments about the challenge there is in supporting people who are on low incomes and so forth. I've just come from a meeting of the Hounslow Community Food Box, where I'm one of the trustees. The need for that is more than it's ever been, and it's going to get worse this year, I imagine. So I'm glad we're managing to deal effectively with the council services. I'm looking back on 8 or 9 years now as a councillor, and every year we come to budget time, and for the last 7 or 8 years we've had the opposition saying we've got too much up our sleeve in reserves, and we should be using that. I think it's proved this year that it was a really good plan to keep our hands on that money for when a really rainy day came by, and that we've got a fighting chance of getting through this recession, or whatever you call it, this mess, without going bankrupt like so many councils are.
Thank you, Councillor Lambert. Councillor Sampson.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Sampson. Sue Sampson, Cabinet Member for Housing and Homelessness. I just want to sort of say a bit about really the rent increase. You know, that's not something that we took and we wanted to do lightly. But I just want, and I've had various conversations over this over the recent weeks, and what I want to, you know, what we need to be mindful of is the fact that last year when we had when the rents were capped at 7%, inflation was very high. The HRA took, you know, it subsidised the rents by 2 million. You know, so and then this year we're increasing the rents to 7.7%. That still does not give us back. We're covering our costs, but we're covering the services, but that still does not put the money back that the HRA lost last year. So, you know, we never, you know, we're not coming in here to put up rents or put up anything, but we are to maintain and save services and deliver in the best interest of the residents of this borough. And I think this budget absolutely does that in light of everything that's gone on.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you very much, Leader. Councillor Samir Chowdhury, Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care, Public Health and Transformation. Thank you so much to you and the team, all our financial team, for producing this budget. But only one thing, I think I'll echo what Councillor Lily Bath has said, talking about the social care. Wherever you will see in this budget, you will see the cost and the demand of services, especially demand of services, increasing. And social care with adults and children, I think it's something which is really, really important, and everything has been covered in this. And I would really like to thank each and every one of our members from my team as well, for all their inputs. And thank you to yourself for bringing this in.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. I haven't seen. Councillor Bruce.
I think talking about some of the issues that we've spoken about this evening, we could be very depressive and upset and bemoaning the fact of the money that we have lost over the last 14 years. And all the things that we have had to do that have been incredibly difficult. We don't shirk difficult decisions, but there have been some unpleasant things that we've had to, you know, take a hard stand on. I think actually this is a very optimistic and positive budget. I think that's what we need to look at. We're an ambitious council, we're an ambitious Labour group. We have ambitions for our borough and our residents, and this strikes that right chord. I am always optimistic about the future. It's been hard in the last few years, but we are coming into election season. And while I don't think budgets in the future, obviously hoping for a positive outcome in the next few elections, in the next couple of elections, I don't think budgets are going to get much easier. I do hope the future government, whoever they may be, and I'm sure a Labour government will be giving us much more long-term support, long-term understanding, long-term sight into what council finances can be, so we can plan for the long term. We've had to do this in the last few years, year on year on year, without knowing 2 or 3 years hence, which is actually terrible. Any accountant or financial manager would tell you that's a terrible way to do things. But we've done it. We've had to do it, and we've done it successfully. And we're in a position now still where we're not having to cut services by any significant amount, and there's a no cuts budget this year, and that we are being able to put money back into a huge range of things. We are able to invest in our borough. We are able to invest in the people of our borough. That's not just words that I'm saying. You know, that's shown in children's services by a positive Ofsted outcome. It's shown by the fact that all our schools are good and outstanding. It's shown by all the parks that have green flags. It's shown by all the housing that's going up, that is supporting people who are homeless or in difficult situations being housed and feeling safe. Councillor Lambert raised a very good point about Foodbox, and that brings in a whole range of issues that lots of people are struggling with in our borough. But we are doing absolutely all that we can with the finances we have and in the best possible way to ensure that everyone in our borough is looked after as well as possible. So excellent work, Leader, and excellent work, officers involved in this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, I can't see anyone else indicating. Right, so I neglected in my introduction just to Councillor Raza, as chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, did give some feedback, which I will read out so it's added into the minutes just for completeness. So he wrote to me, that was the correspondence that I had. Overview and Scrutiny Committee invited the leader to our 15th February meeting. We were also joined by many other members of the Cabinet. We considered the budget to be a robust one with a great deal of work underpinning it. The work to deliver a balanced budget was particularly admirable given the troubling financial position at play nationally and locally. The committee noted the draft budget. It also welcomed Cabinet's obvious commitment to protect services and also asked Cabinet to consider other ways to generate income, ensure value through the council spending and the work we do. And Councillor Raza would like to thank all officers who've worked on this budget and would like to thank me. He's put it down. I'm not thanking myself, and all Cabinet members for their contributions towards the budget. So I'll make sure that that's appended into the minutes. And obviously, I agree with everything that's said, but I've shouldered a lot. Yeah, absolutely. It is my budget, but I think from my perspective, just as a thank you, it's, whilst I'm the lead member for finance and the leader of the council, I'm only as good as the team around me. So Cabinet, thank you guys for the hard work, all the away days, the time spent discussing this in your one-to-ones and in finance performance meetings as well. And thank you to officers as well. I know it's been a hard graft in and amongst all the rest of the stuff that we've been throwing at you as well. But I genuinely feel like this will be the administration that transforms the way people experience their council and the way they interact with their councils. And I think that will leave a legacy that we can all be really proud of. So with that, I'll move to the vote. The recommendations are on, there's quite a few of them, page 81, 82, 83, and over on to 84. So that's A to AA. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. That is a recommendation that we're going on to Borough Council in, 2 weeks' time now. So thank you very much for that. Right, we then move on to agenda item 5. That's the admissions arrangements for London Borough of Hounslow Community Schools. Councillor Bath, over to you.
Thank you. This is quite a relatively simple one compared to the last report. So every year we have to bring to the Cabinet to ask the Cabinet to adopt and agree the admission arrangements for our community schools. And so this is a very similar report to what you would have agreed last year. We base our admissions on the Pan-London approach, and there are no major changes to the admission criteria at all. There's a couple of tweaks, but in terms of the actual admissions criteria for 24-25, they remain broadly the same, in line with what happens across London. So there probably isn't really much more to say, really, but just to ask the Cabinet to agree so that we can adopt these.
Thank you, Councillor Bath. I'll formally second the report and reserve my right to speak. It's now open for discussion, debate. Can't see anyone indicating, as I say, fairly straightforward. No changes. Good admission policy. Go on, Councillor Bath.
I forgot to mention there are no financial implications in this whatsoever.
Music to my ears. Right, good. I can't see anyone indicating on this. So the recommendations on this report are on page 361 of your reports. That's 1 to 4. Can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Thank you very much. We then move on to item 6 on the agenda, allocation and reporting on community infrastructure levies and section 106 fund. Councillor Bruce.
Well, lots of financial implications involved in this report. Positive financial implications, Leader. I think I've said this last year. It's a very unexciting title to a report. So we need to find a more exciting way of describing this. Inward investments, I think, is a slightly better flavour of what we're talking about here. SIL and S106, incredibly important bits of funding for our borough. We see lots of development all around our borough, provides housing and jobs. And I know people for lots of different reasons find that positive as well as negative. But extremely positive for everybody coming out of this is the SIL money and the S106 money, which we are able to allocate into a whole host and a whole range of projects right across the borough to benefit people who live here, who work here, who visit here, making our lives easier. What I'm asking for approval is the allocation of over £3 million to strategic projects from SIL money and almost £5 million for projects from the Section 106 money, as well as approving the addition of the council delivered projects to the capital programme, and then the publication of the infrastructure funding statement, which again has a very unexciting title perhaps, but I would encourage people to look at it because it is an incredibly important and an incredibly exciting document. It sets out the money we receive from development, the money that we're spending on development, where those projects are based, how much is being spent in specific areas. SIL and S106 is broken down in various ways, and I'm not going to go into all the details about it, but SIL, essentially 80% of the money we receive goes into these strategic projects, and SIL and S106 pretty much 100% into various projects outlined in those agreements. It's also worth noting that 20% of that goes into costs, as well as partly goes into providing community, some funds for community projects that we call in this borough the Thriving Community Fund. It has a variety of different approaches it takes, but it sits under Councillor Garrawell and is able to provide small amounts of money and also larger amounts of money for community-based projects. So there's a huge range of things in that infrastructure funding statement. Really important looking at, despite all of the activity that happens in this borough in terms of building and the possible negative consequences that can cause, these are the positive outcomes that come from it, both for those community-based projects and for larger strategic ones. So I can't sing and I can't sing, but I can't speak about this highly enough, and I can't say enough how important this is. And I would like to, I'm going to be releasing a various number of press releases and various number of bits of information about some of these projects over the next few weeks, just to demonstrate the range, the breadth and the range of things that it encompasses. So, as I say, approving some allocation, approving some addition to the capital budget, and some delegated authority for some continuing work within this area. So I move the report, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll formally second the report and reserve my right to speak. It's now open for discussion and debate. I've got Councillor Sheen first.
Well, thank you, Tom, for all the dosh. I'm very pleased to see so much money coming the way of our parks and green spaces and funding improvements, very necessary improvements to our play areas as well. And I think, you know, this council has permitted development across the borough. It has built houses, very necessary houses, but it's not enough to give people places to live. We have to give people quality of life. And by funding our green spaces, we're doing that. So thank you.
Yep, absolutely right. Councillor Dunn.
Well, Councillor Shaheen got in there before me on the green spaces, as of course he should, as his portfolio. But I think it is really great because that's what it's for, isn't it? It's to improve the environment and to mitigate for what can be negative effects that come from development, from building. We all know the reasons we develop and all the positive effects that brings for our residents. But it's not just about the buildings, and that's why we have these contributions as well. So fantastic that so much is going into green spaces and also, of course, active travel.
Yeah, quite right. Anyone else on this report? Hold on. Councillor Garrawell.
Thank you very much, Tom. And I really appreciate, and really we need all this money because the residents need it, different parts of the community need it. And no doubt we've been having it in the past, and I would love to have it in the future. And thank you very much, and I approve of the report. Yeah.
Absolutely right. And you know, a lot's been talked about developments and parks, but actually we've got to remember this does support a lot of our community groups as well, who do so much great work in small doses for different outcomes as well, which is so important, and a real lifeline, and often a good platform for a number of our community groups to bid for external funding as well to improve their activity as well. So I think it's absolutely welcome, and I have to say, really transparent report. Love the way it's been set out, and showing you the story of how we've allocated this money for the benefit of our residents over the last couple of years as well. Can't see anyone else indicating. Do you want to sum up, Councillor Bruce?
Yeah, just to kind of assure Councillor Garrywell and add to through the year, the appropriate year, 2 years ago, in fact, there's a 2-year lag on this. We only had 3 million that we were able to allocate. Next year, those of you savvy enough to be able to look into the document, savvy enough to find the specific bit in the document, I should say, we'll see that there's £10 million available for us to allocate. Now, that's not going to cover all those other bids that were made, but it is a significant amount of money and will continue to do a significant amount of good across the borough. I mean, I can't guarantee that will carry on year after year after year. And really, it depends on the types and the amount of development that are happening in Hounslow. But it is a substantial sum of money, both this year and certainly next year. And it's looking forward to being able to allocate that as well. Thank you, Leader.
Brilliant. Thank you, Councillor Bruce. So the recommendations on this report are on page 401 over to 402. That's 1.1 to 1.5. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Right. Having discussed the budget earlier, nice rounding back to current financial performance monitoring. That's agenda item 7 for Q3. Just to make Cabinet aware, there is an appendix included in this, which is exempt, which should be as part of your table documents as well. So we talked about some of the challenges, but really we have to keep looking quarter to quarter on how things are progressing. Obviously, this does show the pressures that Councillor Bath, you referred to, Councillor Chowdhury, you referred to, and also Councillor Sampson within key areas, but also other pressures that do exist within the system. And I have to say, I can be very proud that we've worked really hard as a cabinet to understand where those pressures exist and understand the mitigations, either through our performance meetings or our budget meetings that happen every quarter as well. So this report highlights where we stand on that. Yes, there is an overspend within this report, and it goes into reasons for that and the understanding for that. But also there are recommendations on specific commitments that we've made that are also included in the report. So I formally move the financial monitoring for Q3.
I formally second and reserve my right to speak.
Excellent. This is open for discussion and debate. Anyone? I can't see anyone indicating on this one. So good. We'll move straight to the vote on this one. Recommendations are on page 468 and 469, A to L. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right, I've not had any referrals from any other council committees, and I've not had any urgent business. Do I need to exclude cross-public? Yeah, okay. Right, we now move on to the exempt part of the publication. So can someone move exclusion of press and public? Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Bath. Is that agreed? Fine. So those watching online, certainly, thank you very much. Hopefully you got something out of this meeting, and we'll see you at our next meeting, which is when? 18th of March, starting at 7 p.m. So thank you very much. Cabinet, hold on whilst we go offline.